traveling to consciousness, exploring spiritual journeys to find answers in uncertainty.
What is up, conscious monkeys? So it's begun. Welcome to another episode of Traveling to Consciousness. As always, I'm your host, Clayton Cuteri. Today's podcast, we are talking about how Trump has finally decided to show his true colors. If you're unaware, the war with Iran has begun unofficially. It has unofficially begun. And it all started whenever Israel decided to do a, quote, preemptive measure, a preemptive strike to prevent Iran from fighting against them, right? Because that's what everyone does, right? You go out and you look for someone, you say, hey, before you fight me, I'm going to fight you. Because that's the moral of this story. And all of this has come to a head now where 2 days ago, our commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, decided to go and bomb Iran directly, right? Because it's always been indirectly up until this point, right? Indirectly, we have been bombing Iran because where do you think Israel gets its war fighters? Where do you think it gets its missiles from? Gets it from U.S. military contractors. It gets it from the $4 billion promised to them every single year from American taxpayers. Because AIPAC lobbies our Congress and gives them enough money so that they fund Israel and put the interests of Israel before America, which was proven after the bombing, because if you watched Trump's short, maybe like 10-minute address after the fact, he said, God bless Israel. And I find it absolutely incredible. And it proves that he has the interests of the Israeli government before the interests of the American people. To me, I see that as an act of treason. I think that's very treasonous. Because for so many reasons, there was no reason. For so many reasons, there is no reason for us to be bombing Iran. Why do I say this? Well, for starters, let's even take a look at some of the claims that kind of came out. We have Tulsi Gabbard in March 2025 saying that the intelligence community, the IC, has absolutely zero evidence that Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons, which their own Ayatollah, their own leader, has claimed directly goes against Sharia law. Because whenever you have a nuclear weapon, the blast radius of it, the fallout, will kill civilians in the hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, depending on where that bomb is dropped. And the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, of, I believe, the Shiites in that region, came out and said as a fatwa, which is like the Islamic law of the land, that nuclear weapons is not a moral pursuit and goes directly against the Quran. So here you have the leader of a nation saying that from a religious perspective, which a fatwa is like swearing on the Bible. It's like their version of like swearing to Christ, swearing to Jesus. But it's even more morally and religiously significant, saying that pursuing a nuclear bomb is evil. It's purely evil. So they won't do it. So then we have all the way back in March, the head, one of the heads, Tulsi Gabbard, saying that they're not doing it, that there's no evidence for it. And then a mere weeks ago, she reversed course after getting pressure from, whether it was from Trump, whether it was from Bibi Netanyahu, we don't know, coming out and basically saying, oh, well, they can't have a bomb. Which is a complete switch, goes back to our little war on language. You have to be very careful and understand the way that they play these word games. It's like, well, Trump's been saying for the last 10 years that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's like, okay, that's fine. Sure, he's been consistent on that. But then to actually just go and bomb the nuclear enrichment sites, which they've claimed is only for civilian purposes, such as medicine, such as energy, which personally I don't think we should even be doing as a world. I don't think that uranium should be used for medicines, but that's a whole nother tangent. for energy. It should not be used for that, in my opinion. That's a whole nother long conversation. But right now we're focusing on the fact that our government has decided to put us at risk. How have they decided to put us at risk? Well, if you take a step back, Iran was negotiating and having talks with Israel and America, the United States, regarding their nuclear program. And again, you have to be careful, because when we say nuclear program, that does not mean nuclear weapons. So yes, they have a nuclear program, but they do not have a nuclear weapon program. They are not creating nukes. So in these discussions, Iran was very open to discussions and talking with Israel, talking with America, talking with the United States. And then Israel decided to just go and bomb them as a preemptive strike. And so then what is Iran going to do? Is they're going to fight back. They're going to fire weapons at them. And so then America decides to join the war for absolutely no reason, and arguably an actual impeachable offense. This is actually, I think there's probably debate around this, but there's definitely valid concerns that this is an act of war that is only given to the ability of Congress. Because what's going to happen after this? You think Iran's just going to sit there and be like, well, thanks for dropping those bombs. That really showed us. Let's talk now. Or do you think that they're going to actually carry out missions on U.S. troops, maybe on U.S. civilians? The entire news seems to be propping that up now. It's like, beware for a false flag event. Be aware of an Iranian citizen carrying something out on America, on our homeland. Like, all I'm trying to say is if we are pursuing peace, and in quote, peace through strength, this is not how it's done. Because peace through strength was popularized by Ronald Reagan. And the way that Ronald Reagan handled the Soviets, the way he handled the Soviets, the way he handled the Cold War was an exemplary way to go about the idea of peace through strength. If you're dropping bombs, that is not peace. You are not cultivating peace. If you are dropping weapons, that is not peace, and you are inciting war. That is not peace through strength. Peace through strength is showing people how strong you are without enacting violence. Peace through strength is what I learned after doing years. I think I'm at 6 years now doing jiu-jitsu. You become strong internally so that you can carry peace throughout the world. And whenever I look at this, when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, I mean, Trump prided himself on being the no-war president. And now the world is engaged in 3 wars. Israel's part of 2 of them, directly involved in 2 of them. We have the war in Gaza. We now have the war in Iran. Trump has just unilaterally pulled us into that. We'll see how Iran's going to respond, because they'll do something, because we completely blundered our negotiations because, we'll just bomb them, which satellite images coming out show that it's possible that absolutely no damage was even done to these Iranian facilities, because it seemed like they knew that bombs were going to be sent to them, that all of this was going to happen. They apparently removed the uranium from those sites, and then the sites weren't even significantly damaged. So now Trump's running around saying it's a massive success. I mean, how do you define success? The fact that the bombs went off, and not to mention 6 of them were dropped, in that magnitude is going to cause natural disasters. It's going to cause earthquakes within the region, which will indirectly harm innocent people. I mean, it's insanity to me. It's absolute insanity. It's literally kids playing with bombs. And well, it's this complex thing, and it's not complex at all. It's very simple. We need to seek peace. And Trump will sit up there and wave his hands, and Bibi Netanyahu will sit up there and wave their hands and say, well, we want peace, we're trying to negotiate, and then it deteriorated. Well, why did it deteriorate? Maybe it was because of this 60-day limit that Trump had. Well, you have to reach it within 60 days, this 60-day deadline, which puts Iran up against a wall. It puts everyone up against a wall. So like what happens after that 60 day? If we can't negotiate past that 60 day, do we just start bombing each other? Do we start just killing innocent people? Do we start irreparable damage to the world, literally to the surface of Earth, by dropping these bombs and thus invoking natural disasters, earthquakes, which could bring about tsunamis and again kill the lives of innocent people? Is that what we're doing? Well, in 60 days, and here's what's the crazy thing about this 60-day deadline, is if you look back 20, 30 years, Bibi Netanyahu has been trying to get this war to kick off for the last 30 years because he has constantly been talking about how Iran is enriching uranium, which is true. They've admitted, everyone agrees, who has also submitted to many different atomic inspections. Iran has. But Bibi has completely perpetuated this lie of Iran getting nuclear weapons through the guise of his language, because he will say things like, well, Iran's really close to enriching uranium, and that means that then they can create a bomb. For the last 20 years, Bibi has been saying, well, Iran is only 3 weeks to a few months away from creating a nuclear weapon. It's only a few weeks to a few months. You can find him saying this, and other, let's say, congressmen in the United States government saying Iran is only a few weeks to a few months away from creating a nuclear weapon. 2018, Iran is only a few weeks to a few months to creating a nuclear weapon. 2015, Iran is only a few weeks to a few months away to creating a nuclear weapon. It's all lies. It's all bullshit. It's the same exact thing they did to get us into the war in Iraq, which costed the U.S. taxpayer almost and probably over $1 trillion, killed almost 1 million people, which we got baited into because of Israel, because of our, quote, allies in the region. You know, we really need to start evaluating who we're friends with. You have to look in your own life. If you have a friend that's constantly pulling you into fights, keeps getting into trouble, keeps killing innocent people, is that your friend? Seriously, is that your friend? Who Bibi publicly has said that 9/11 was a great thing for Israel because it pulled America into the war with Iraq. It gave him the leverage he needed to convince the American people that going to war in Iraq is a good thing. Because then he could sit in front of Congress and say that there were WMDs, and there weren't any WMDs. And Trump, in the 2016 debate with and against Jeb Bush, even claimed and said they knew they were lying. They knew there were no WMDs. He lied to the American people to get us into that war. And look where we are 10 years later. History repeating itself. Trump wanted to be remembered, in my opinion, as this president who got us into no wars. But all he has done is continued the wars in Gaza, in Iraq, in Ukraine, and now he's creating a new one in Iran, because he cannot say no to Bibi Netanyahu. Now, we don't know why. We can hypothesize as to why he can't say no to him. We could hypothesize that Epstein, who was a Mossad agent, has dirt or gave dirt to the Israeli government on Trump. We can hypothesize that. I have no idea if that's true or not. But one thing is for certain, and that is that Trump cannot say no to Bibi. Why? What dirt does he have on him? Why can Trump not say no to him? Why is it that it seems like, and all evidence points to, the entire United States government being owned and ran by Israel, and the one person who I know of who is not bought and paid for by Israel would be Thomas Massie. He's a representative from Kentucky. And in the last 24 hours, Trump has gone on a tirade yelling and berating and saying how terrible Thomas Massie is, when Thomas Massie embodies the principle of America First, of MAGA. At this point, in my opinion, he embodies it far more than Trump does anymore. It's almost like Trump has left MAGA. And this is what I'm seeing. And Thomas Massie embodies it. And now Thomas Massie gets berated and yelled at for these things. To me, I can't wrap my head around it. because Thomas Massey won't vote for this, quote, one big, beautiful bill. And here's the thing is the only thing that's true about it is it's one and it is big. It is massive, and it is going to cause massive amounts of debt to the United States government that the American people will have to pay off, that none of us want to pay off. And Thomas Massey has even come out and said, like, look, this is ridiculous. There's no budget cuts. And that's why Thomas Massey continuously votes no on these bills, because they're just bloated with BS. And that's why Trump now is mad at him. He's mad at him because he won't get on board and just do what's right for the American people. Whenever now we have all of this ridiculous foreign spending occurring, we're not taking care of our own people. And instead, it's a higher priority of our president right now to bomb Iran than it is for him to take care of the American people. You know how much money was probably spent in that mission? I bet it was upwards of $200 million, from the cost of the bombs to the fighter jets to the fuel to paying the people to organizing it all to the chiefs of staff to the organization of that entire military operation was probably north of $200 million. You know how much prosperity we could bring to the American people for $200 million instead of causing earthquakes and killing innocent people? I mean, it's like we're living in clown world at this point. I don't know how else to articulate it. I don't know how else to talk about it. I see the insanity. I see the madness. And I think the only thing that Trump has really been successful in doing is completely, alienating his own people. It's insanity. Insanity. Insanity is the only word that I can fathom for it. Absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. And I see it as a blessing in regards that people are jumping ship. The people who thought Trump was America first and pro-America are leaving. And where are they going to go? Think about it. Where are they going to go? AOC and Bernie? You think that who is going to be who represents their interests? So look, as terrible as all of this is, I stay optimistic because I see this as what the American Congress Party was created for. I see this as the opportunity for people to realize that there is an organization, there is a political party, the American Congress Party, which truly believes in the future of America and putting the interests of our American citizens above everybody else in the entire world. Because that's the intention. That's the point of our government, is to put the intentions of the American citizens before everybody else. And so that's why we have the American Congress Party. That's why we're here. So we're ready to serve you, the American people. And, you know, the irony of it all is I don't think we're going to have an option at a certain point here. You think J.D. Vance, whose entire persona is fake in a sense, his name's fake, his history's fake, him being a banker is fake, all of it is completely made up and fake. Is that the future that we want to get behind? It's just it's crazy to me. There's no future with the Democrats. There's no future with the Republicans. They're all bought and paid for. AIPAC pays for all their campaigns because we send billions of dollars to Israel and they will money launder it back into the pockets of politicians. So that's, you know, as unfortunate as all this is, the beauty in it is that it's going to pave a way for the American Congress Party so we can actually create long-lasting change on this planet and in America, in the United States at least, that's going to right the ship. It's going to right the ship. Because, and this is another part of the insanity that I keep seeing on X or all over the place, is that this idea of, well, Iran says death to America. What? Like, we shouldn't let them have a nuclear weapon. Well, first of all, again, they're not even pursuing a nuclear weapon, but let's unpack why Iran says death to America? Why do they say death to America? Does anybody know? It's just like, oh, they say it, so we just have to just unilaterally go against them. Why are they saying death to America? Have you done any research into this? Because if you do research into this, you will find a string of events dating all the way to the present day, dating all the way back at least till 1953, with Operation Ajax. What is Operation Ajax, you ask? The United States government, specifically the CIA, went in and overthrew a democratically elected leader in Iran. I'm going to butcher his last name, but it was like Muhammad Mosagard. I apologize. I know it's a butcher. And instead we put in the Shah because he was pro-Western civilization. So that was, in my opinion, the starting point of whenever Iranians said, whoa, we voted for someone democratically, and then the U.S. government's going to come in and tell us who's supposed to lead our country. That's where it all started. And then from there, as we can see, was a long line of events where America backed the interests of Israel over everyone else in the region. That was Osama bin Laden's big grievance against the United States government, was that we consistently backed Israel and did not do anything in the interest of anyone else in the region. And why? Why? Israel is the one with nuclear weapons, and they won't even publicly admit it. They won't even publicly admit that they have nuclear weapons. And yet we're supposed to believe them over and listen to them over these people who are clearly defenseless. They don't have any nukes. They literally said, we lied. They lied. Our government lied to us about WMDs in Iraq, which we found out after we went there. Oh, oops. I guess our intelligence was wrong. The most powerful country in the world. I guess our intelligence was wrong. You think? But this time in Iran, it's the right way. And so you think us going in and bombing them, do you think that's going to make them be like, okay, you know what? Let's no longer say death to America. America's doing so great in bombing us. Do you seriously think that that's what's going to create more peace in the world? Do you think Iran's going to turn a corner and say, okay, well, now we like America because they bombed us? I mean, look, you have to just take a step back and look at the world from other people's perspectives. First of all, it's an extremely powerful self-growth tactic for you to take a step back and just look at the world from other people's eyes and their lenses, how they were brought up, the world that they were presented with, to understand why they view the world the way they do. So if you take a step back and you look at these people who are chanting death to America and ask yourself why, you'll see that from their perspective, America, the United States government, is a terrorist organization. From their perspective, that is what they see. So we have to correct that. And I would argue that I love America so much that I want us to be viewed as an amazing country to everyone. So what are the policies? What are the things that we are doing that makes them believe? Why do they believe that America is a terrorist organization? Why? Well, we completely install our own regime. We do regime changes, which everyone said was not going to happen this time. And now we have Trump literally a day after this bombing saying, well, regime change is kind of like a bad word. Like, it's kind of has like a weird connotation, but why shouldn't we do a regime change? If anybody took a second to analyze the chessboard of what's going on in the world, everyone knew that this was the outcome. This was the direction it was going all the way back whenever Israel dropped those initial bombs in Iran, those missiles. That was the whole intention. It goes back even further. This was always the intention. This was always the intention. And I mean, chaos, absolute chaos. And it's all by design. And look, I think it's completely valid. I mean, and when you take a step back and realize that our politicians are the ones who are creating this hatred for America in the entire Middle East, maybe not the entire Middle East, at least Iraq, Iran, Syria, Libya, Yemen. It's like, look at our foreign policy. It's almost as if you could say that our foreign policy was to make America the enemy in these areas. I mean, looking back, that's exactly what it's done. Why do we not have any of our leaders sitting here and saying, yeah, we have to change something? You know, it's like there's no self-introspection in our government. You know, there's no like internal questions being asked, like, why do these people think we're evil? Why do they think we're terrorists? Well, it can't be all these regime changes we do in the region that leaves the regions like worse, magnitudes worse than whenever we started. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Libya. Libya was prospering. They were doing very well. And yes, there's problems with every single leader in the world. I'm not saying that these dictators are perfect, like Gaddafi. I'm not saying that they were perfect. But when we went in and killed them and led revolution and coups to destroy them and kill them, what got replaced? What happened? Did it become better or worse? It became far, far worse, and it happens every single time. So now that they've planted the seeds for us to go and do a regime change in Iran, if for some reason something happens to the Ayatollah, do you really think that something better is going to replace it? No, it'll be something far worse, and that is the goal, because then it will give Israel dominance in that region, and it'll make them a power player. They have the pocket of the United States government in their hand, and now they want to become a power player in that region because they'll have access to the Suez Canal. They'll have access to so many more bodyways and trade routes in that region where they will be able to cut off trade to anyone they want. You think they're willing to, if they're willing to starve the Palestinian people, what do you think they're willing to do to everybody in the entire world? I mean, guys, take a step back. Stop getting brainwashed by Fox News and CNN, because neither one of them have your opinion in mind. They get money from pro-Israeli donors. I mean, it's just everywhere you go, everywhere you look at it, it's insanity. Nobody is trying to make the world a better place. And if they are, I don't see them. Where are they? The only people I see are the American Congress Party. And this is why it's so important to get involved, to back us, to support us in any way you can. Assuming you want world peace. Let me start off there. Assuming you want world peace, this is the place you got to come to. So with all that being said, you know, I appreciate you guys. And hopefully you guys are doing something, whether it's in your own life, publicly, or however, to support the American Congress Party. Sharing this podcast is a great way to do it. Telling people that we exist is like very great. Word of mouth is what's going to make this vision a reality. So even if you just talk about it when these conversations come up, it's like, who do we turn to? Democrats, Republicans, they're all bought off by the same people. Well, that's where the American Congress Party comes in. So with all that being said, I appreciate you all. I love you all. And I will see you all